My talk today is titled Keeping Your Tank Full, How What We Eat Changes Who We Are. So this is me in 2001. I was a collegiate track athlete. I ran the 800 meters and I also competed in cross country. So I was a year-long runner and I've been a runner since then. But I got a little sick of running when I went to grad school, so I took up triathlon. And so for the past 10 years or so, I've been, or more, 15 years or so, I've been a triathlete. And this all ties in with me wanting to be my optimal self, figuring out how I can push my body to the limits, figuring out how I can make my times faster, and figuring out how I can be optimally healthy. So this is me in 2010 running a triathlon, and my journey with triathlon ultimately led me to compete and complete 3 Ironman triathlon events. And it took me, you can see here, Arizona, this is my best time, but it took me almost 12 hours to complete this Ironman. So you really have to be conscious of your nutrition. You really have to be conscious of, not eating too much. But you can see over the course of about 11 years, I'm looking a little bit heavier. So in 2001, I was 140 pounds. In 2010, I had gained about 10 pounds, and this was over the course of grad school and 3 different postdocs and a lot of stress. But I had definitely gained some weight, even though I was still competing and still trying to be my optimal self and trying to eat really well. And in 2012, when I started my job here at Utah State, I had gained another 10 pounds, and I was 160 pounds when I got pregnant with my first child. In addition to trying to eat healthy and exercising a lot, I was also vegetarian for 9 of those years, which at the time I believed was the most healthy diet I could have, and I was vegan for 2 of those years. So despite being vegetarian and despite being vegan, I was still gaining. I gained about 20 pounds in the course of 10 years. And in addition to gaining weight, I also, my entire life, have had trouble breathing. And it's not asthma. I've seen countless doctors about it with different advice, but nobody's ever diagnosed me with asthma. I've had lung scans, I've had heart scans. And what it was for me was just an inability to get a full breath. I would take a deep breath and I would stretch out my lungs and I would lean back and I could not get a full breath in. And it would get worse and it would get better. And sometimes I remember lying in bed, just, exhausted. My eyes were watering and I just could not get a full breath. And it was never dangerous. It was just uncomfortable and annoying. And it would also happen when I was exercising. And so that was one of my main frustrations. And I say was, and I'll tell you about why I don't have that problem anymore. And it's really amazing. But I've always had trouble sleeping, and I've had bouts of depression and definite mood swings, throughout my whole life, but basically over the past 10 years for sure. So in 2014, I gave birth to my daughter, Josie. Here she is. She's about a year old here, and this is 2015, and I'm about 180 pounds. So, I gave birth to a child. I gained a little bit of weight, and I got back down to about 180 pounds, and I sort of got stuck there. This is me in 2016. This is my headshot. I received an award at the university and they wanted to take headshots. And you can see I'm still pretty heavy right here. And I'm still about 180 pounds in 2016. And somehow I managed to get down a little bit. When I got pregnant with my second child, I got down to about 170 pounds. And this is me just about a week ago, 2017. I'm back down already. My son now is 8 months old, and I'm back down already to about 172 pounds. And I'm feeling healthy, and you can see I even look better. Feeling about the healthiest I've ever felt in my whole life. And so until recently, I was really losing hope that I could ever get back to a place where I felt healthy, where running felt good, where I could be a good role model for my kids, where I could feel truly, truly happy again. So while I had many issues that made me feel unhealthy, the main thing that frustrated me and made me feel like I was failing was this extra weight. And so while the extra weight is just a symptom of some of the underlying dysfunctions, let's just begin with the weight, because that's something that I think almost all of us struggle with. So let's talk about what causes weight gain. What makes us fat? Well, this is what we're bombarded with. We're bombarded with the fact that calories matter, and that calories are the only thing that matters. So eat a smaller bagel, drink less juice, drink less soda, don't supersize things. And as long as we keep our calories down, all of our problems should be solved. And if we eat less than we expend, this negative energy balance, we should be fine. We should be totally fine. You know, this should work. Everyone tells us this should work. Not only does Dr. Oz tell us this should work, but our physicians tell us this should work. Our personal trainers, our nutritionists tell us this should work. Even the FDA tells us this should work. But let me ask you guys, does this work? We should be able to cut our calories, eat less, and we should be able to exercise more and lose weight. And if you don't, that's not our fault, that's your fault. It's your willpower, it's your habits. You can't control yourself, right? Well, let me tell you something. This equation is not as simple as calories in and calories out. And the sad thing is we've known this for over 100 years. And by we, I mean scientists and I mean research. So you eat something, you can either expend that energy or, of course, we all know this, or it gets stored. Okay, but it's not as simple as balancing the energy in and balancing the energy out. And let me tell you why. This health initiative was looking at trying to reduce calorie intake and looking at health outcomes. And these women, 50,000 women, were given 361 less calories per day over the course of 7 years of the study. And they were given a low-calorie, low-fat diet. So here's their energy taken in. Total energy was 1,788 calories at the beginning, and at follow-up was 14,045 calories. That's a deficit of 361 calories per day. This should have resulted in substantial weight loss over the course of 10 years. Well, here are the findings. So here's the mean difference in kilograms, 0 meaning no weight loss, no weight gain. And there's two groups. Up here you have the normal diet, so people who just ate normally, and down here you have the eat less, exercise more diet. So in the first year, boy, did they lose a lot of weight. They lost about 4 pounds. So not even a lot of weight there. And over the course of time, the individuals in this study got right back to their average weight. And this is, they didn't go back to their normal diet. This is despite having a deficit of 361 calories over what they were eating before. These people are eating less, these people are eating more, they weigh the same. Calorie cutting doesn't work. Okay, let me show you something else here. This is now looking at the other side of the equation, the exercise part of the equation. Okay, so yeah, maybe calories in doesn't quite equal calories out, but if I exercise more, if I train for an Ironman, if I train for 3 Ironmans, I'm gonna lose weight, right? I have to lose weight. Like, how can I train for an Ironman and not lose weight? Well, this is a very interesting study, and this was published in Scientific American. It was an article entitled "The Exercise Paradox." And these researchers are studying different populations of humans. And they want to know who expends more energy on a daily basis. Well, you would think that you can find these sort of native hunter-gatherer tribes who don't live in the Western world. And what they do is they expend a lot of energy per day, right? So they're chasing after prey, they're gathering nuts and seeds, they're working all day long, they're active all day long. They're not sitting at their desks, and they're not sitting on a couch eating potato chips and watching TV. And everything in the popular media tells us to get up and move more, right? And that will help us. Well, this is an interesting finding. So these guys look like they're in pretty good shape, right? Well, they exercise all the time. Of course they're in good shape. Well, here's the data. This is the total energy expenditure, and they have a really, really, really cool way of getting at energy expenditure, and it's very, very accurate. It has to do with isotopes in water, and I can't explain the science because I don't do this kind of research, but they can measure energy expenditure very accurately throughout the day. And what we have here is the average of everybody, so the sort of the data plot, the scatter plot of everybody. We have Western females in Hadza females. The females are the circles, and the Hadza females and males are the orange. Okay, so if we look over here at the average energy expenditure, let's just look at the females. The Hadza and the Western females expend about 1,800 calories per day. And this is despite drastic changes in the amount of activity that these women are performing per day. Let's look at the men. You would expect that the Hadza men, they're going out and they're walking and running all day long. You would expect, of course, they're burning more calories. Well, look at this. The Western male actually burns about 3,000 calories per day, and the Hadza male burns about 2,800 calories per day, burns less than the average Western male. Well, this fits right in line with that idea that our bodies are intelligent, our bodies are smart. If you need to expend a lot of energy because you need to go and hunt, you're going to have to eat more energy to do that, and that's not very economical. That doesn't make sense as far as evolution is concerned. Your body adjusts to the amount of work you do. And on average, what researchers are finding is that on average, humans burn the same amount of calories per day regardless of what they eat, regardless of what they do. You can exercise, and that will help you individually. But in general, exercise and the amount of energy we expend per day doesn't matter a ton as far as energy storage. So what is the contributing factor? Why do some people store weight and some people don't? Well, look, it has to do with a hormone called insulin. We eat carbohydrates, and we have a spike in blood glucose. After we have a spike in blood glucose, that signals our body to release insulin. And what does insulin do? Well, it takes all the extra glucose that we consume and it stores it. There's been a lot of studies on insulin because we know insulin is used to treat diabetes. People with very high blood sugar who can't control that blood sugar need to take exogenous insulin, right? So we give them insulin, and then their blood sugars are controlled, which is great, but then they gained a ton of weight. So I don't want to say it's as simple as insulin, but it's basically as simple as insulin. So what influences insulin? Well, if you eat refined carbohydrates, or even complex carbohydrates, or sugars, what happens to your insulin? Well, it goes up, right? Insulin goes up, fat storage increases. What happens when you eat good fats, proteins? Well, your insulin goes up a little bit. It doesn't go up a ton, and I'll show you some plots in a second. Here's what happens to our blood glucose when we look at the type of food we're eating. So if we eat a high-carb, low-fat meal, our blood glucose is going to spike about an hour after we eat that meal, and it's going to gradually, over the course of 3 hours, return to normal. During this time, when our blood glucose is high, insulin is taking that blood glucose and storing it as fat. If we eat a low-carb, high-fat meal, look at the spike in glucose. It's very minimal. So you may have a little bit of fat storage, but what you really have is some sustained energy over time. And so if we look at what types of foods spike insulin, you can see the foods up here are very high in sugar and very low in fat. Whereas the foods at the bottom here, and actually some foods even high in protein can spike insulin. At the bottom here, foods that don't spike insulin are foods that are very high in fat. Olive oil, butter, peanut butter, cream cheese, bacon, etc. And I want to also talk a little bit about spikes in insulin, not due to diet, but due to when we eat. So this idea of eating 6 meals a day versus something else. There are a lot of different ways you can fast, and all of them show very, very promising effects on not only cancer risk, but fat storage and weight loss and overall health. So this is one way you could do it. If you can eat within an 8-hour window, so say you eat lunch and you eat dinner, your insulin only spikes twice per day. And during those 2 spikes, you have a little bit of fat storage. But during the other 16 hours, you're burning fat. And you're allowing your body to tap into the fat stores that it's created for you. In addition, if for lunch and for dinner you are eating a high-fat, low-carbohydrate meal, your insulin is going to spike even less, and you're going to experience more sustained energy that comes from fat burning versus carbohydrate burning. Well, I like to think about where we came from. I like to think about our ancestry and our evolution. Like I said, we've been humans for 1 million years, and it's only recently, and I mean really, really recently, the past 300 years, that our diets have so drastically changed to what they are today. So look at this graph here. Sugar, that is in everything now. Well, sugar was only made available for all in about 1798. so less than 300 years ago. Refined grains, breads, hydrogenated fats, refined vegetable oils, and even meat that wasn't raised naturally is only 200 years old. And if you look at the human generations, that's only 7 max, 7 generations ago. That's not even nearly enough time for the mechanisms of evolution to start helping us deal with this new diet. So my answer to how should we be eating is how we used to be eating, right? We used to be eating a lot more meat and fish, and when we ate the meat and fish, we also ate all of it. We didn't cut off the fat like we're told to do now. We ate fatty meat and fatty fish. And I'll tell you one other thing, it probably depended on where we lived. So if you think about your heritage and you think about how you should be eating, it might make more sense. And in addition, our ancestors probably ate about once a day or once every other day, followed by periods of time where they were subsisting on the breakdown of their fat into ketones for energy. So in 1700, sugar wasn't that readily available. Sugar consumption has gone up since then, and it's drastically gone up in the past 50 years. Obesity has gradually gone up, and drastically in the past 25, 50 years has gone up drastically. Well, look at this increase in obesity. Skyrocketed, right? And the increase in sugar consumption skyrocketed about 1970. Well, what happened in 1976? The FDA released some low-fat guidelines, and people started following those low-fat guidelines. This is another plot, and this is a number of diabetics in the millions. 1992, right about here, the US government started to endorse a high-carb, low-fat diet. And in 1994, the American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association followed suit with similar recommendations, and look at the increase in people with diabetes. If you're not angry right now, you should be. Okay, so let's talk about a different way of eating. Let's talk about nutritional ketosis. And all nutritional ketosis means is you're eating high fats, moderate proteins, low carbohydrates, and your body is burning fat on a consistent daily basis. So what happens is we can use carbohydrates, we can use fats, or we can use proteins for energy. The fats, when we use those for energy, get broken down into ketone bodies that our body can use for fuel. And actually, our body was designed and evolved to use ketones primarily for fuel. Research continues to show us that people with cancer have been switching to ketogenic diets and seeing a lot of success. Their cancer either doesn't progress as fast or it's even diminished when they eat a high-fat, low-carbohydrate diet. In addition to cancer, there's been a lot of research on memory and cognitive impairment and even Alzheimer's disease. If you can switch to a ketogenic diet where your body is producing ketones and you're using ketones for energy, you will delay the onset of Alzheimer's, you will delay the progression of Parkinson's, and I can't even tell you how many other diseases are influenced by this native diet that we should be on. There are also some really interesting research, there's really interesting research coming out lately, since about 2015, on ketone supplementation. We can put ketones into the system, which triggers fat burning and triggers the state of ketosis without actually having to be in nutritional ketosis. And that is helping anxiety, and they're also using it now to treat brain injury or concussion. So here's the changes I've seen since I started a ketogenic diet, and I also started supplementing with some exogenous ketones. I am now able to take full, deep breaths. I've not been able to do that since I can remember. I'm sleeping better. I have a more steady mood. I've lost 13 pounds in about the first three weeks. But the most amazing thing to me is I don't have any hunger. I don't have to use my willpower. I don't have to use my ego to figure out how to make it through another day without eating the number of carbs that I'm supposed to eat or whatever. The other thing that fascinated me was I didn't crave carbs. I would be sitting up, so I did a 30-day detox, a 30-day clean eating challenge where I try to eat clean, healthy foods. And I would sit at my desk in the morning and I would literally almost shake because I didn't know how to get through my morning without my sugary coffee or my donut. I thought, oh God, I'm gonna have to go through that again, but I really want to try this. Well, the first day I'm sitting at my desk and I didn't even think about needing a donut or needing a sugary coffee. I sat down and I worked and I wasn't hungry and it was absolutely incredible. So for me, the biggest thing is I don't have to stress about what to eat and when to eat. I have to plan 2 good meals a day, maybe a good snack. I don't have to plan 6 healthy meals a day, and I don't have to look at my watch figuring out when the next time I can eat will be, because this is what people are telling me I should do. Here's what I do now. I listen to my body, I eat when I'm hungry, and I feel amazing. So this is a week into a ketogenic diet. I went from 185 pounds down to 177 pounds. I lost about 3% body fat, an estimate. And boy, did I feel better. And I'm just continuing this journey. I'm so excited. So listen, I get so angry when I hear fitness professionals talk about how there are no easy fixes, how being fit and healthy is so hard. They make it sound like only those with ample time and amazing willpower can get healthy. They make it sound like health and happiness is a privilege, only attainable for a few, select individuals. Listen, I study the human body, and let me tell you something. The human body is smart. You store fat because that's what would help you survive if you lived in the same environment our bodies were evolved to live in. But we don't live in that environment anymore, and that's really, really good. We just have to understand how our bodies utilize energy and what energy our bodies thrive on. There are only 2 reasons why you can't get to your ideal self. You either don't have the knowledge or you don't have the ability. Everyone sitting watching this has the ability to get to your ideal self, whether that's your ideal weight or sleeping better or breathing better or controlling your appetite. You have the ability. Everyone sitting here has the ability. But what can we do if the knowledge we're being given is just plain wrong? So how do you begin? If you want to try this, if you think this is something that might be right for you, first off, I am committed to personally coaching everyone who wants to try this. We have a July challenge, so I would love it if you would join our July challenge. There's a lot of support. We have a Facebook group. You can go online and you can look at the exogenous ketones and see if that's something you might like to try. I can tell you they're very helpful. You can contact me at ketocoachbree@gmail.com, or you can find my website. It's www.breathethechange.weebly.com, and it is a work in progress. Let me just show you some images of my husband who started taking the ketone supplement but didn't necessarily change his diet that much. And he didn't need to lose weight, but he did. He lost about 4 pounds, and what we noticed is just a lot more muscle definition. So what's happening there is probably during his workouts, he's in a more ketogenic state because of the exogenous ketones, which is very muscle sparing. So whatever muscle he's building, he's actually holding on to. And he's also experienced this feeling of mental clarity, less mood swings, less being hangry, angry and hungry at the same time. And his workouts have felt amazing, and his recovery has been really, really good. So all very, very good benefits. He's actually so hooked on it now that he's starting to change his diet and thinking about cutting out the pizza, cutting out the pasta, and eating more ketogenic because he's feeling so good. You can also find me on Facebook. You just search my name, Brianna Studenka, and then I'll add you to all our groups. And I have a special offer for you, the members of this seminar. I can send you a sample pack, so you can try up to 8 days or more if you want. Try the different flavors, see how it makes you feel. I noticed a difference immediately within 2 to 3 days, so I think you'll notice a difference if you just try it. So $25 to $40, and I will cover the shipping for you, and I will send them out to you right away. And if you contact me for a free consultation, I will send you a $15 off coupon code that you can use on the Prove It website. Prove It is the company that makes these exogenous ketones. And you can use this on your first purchase.